Have you ever imagined leaving this world not through the quiet door of death, but in a whirlwind of fire and glory? Picture the sky ablaze with divine light, a chariot of fire descending from the heavens, and a prophet being taken up in a whirlwind. It's a scene that defies the ordinary, a departure that speaks of divine intervention and heavenly purpose. That's exactly how Elijah, the mighty prophet of God, departed from earth. His life was marked by profound faith and miraculous deeds, and his departure was no less extraordinary. His story, found in the Old Testament book of Kings, is one of unwavering faith, dramatic miracles, and an extraordinary exit that has fascinated believers for centuries. The narrative of Elijah is not just a historical account, it is a testament to the power of faith and the reality of divine encounters. Elijah's life, though set in ancient times, holds timeless lessons about faith, courage, and God's power. His journey through the ancient landscapes, his confrontations with kings, and his solitary moments of prayer all paint a picture of a man deeply connected to the divine. Elijah wasn't a king or a warrior, but a simple man who heard God's call and responded with his whole heart. His story reminds us that greatness in God's eyes is not about status or power, but about obedience and faithfulness. His life reminds us that God often chooses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Elijah's miracles, from calling down fire from heaven to raising the dead, were not the acts of a superhuman, but of a man empowered by his faith in God. He empowers them, not because they are perfect, but because their hearts are surrendered to his will. Elijah's fervent prayers and unwavering trust in God were the keys to his powerful ministry. Elijah's story is not just an ancient tale. It's a living testament to the fact that God is still in the miracle-working business. The same God who worked through Elijah is at work today, calling us to step out in faith and trust in his power. He still calls ordinary people like you and me to lives of faith and courage. In our everyday lives, we are invited to respond to his call, just as Elijah did, with hearts full of faith and hands ready to serve. And he still honors those who dare to believe in his power, even when the world around them seems determined to doubt. Elijah's story encourages us to stand firm in our faith, to trust in God's promises, and to believe that with him, all things are possible. The Bible doesn't reveal much about Elijah's early life. His origins are shrouded in mystery, and we are left to wonder about the formative years of this great prophet. What we do know is that he hailed from Tishbe in Gilead, a rugged and remote region, which perhaps shaped his fiery and unyielding character. We first meet him in 1 Kings chapter 17 verse 1, described simply as Elijah the Tishbite. This brief introduction belies the profound impact he would have on the history of Israel. His name, meaning "My God is Yahweh," would become synonymous with unwavering faith and divine power. Like a sudden burst of thunder, he appears on the scene with a message from God for King Ahab and his wicked wife Jezebel. His arrival was as dramatic as the storms he would later call down from the heavens, a harbinger of the divine judgment that was to come. Imagine their surprise when this rugged prophet, clothed in rough animal skin, boldly confronts them about their idolatry and wickedness. Elijah's appearance and demeanor were a stark contrast to the opulence and corruption of the royal court, making his message all the more striking. Elijah's message was simple: there would be no rain in Israel except by his word. This proclamation was not just a prediction but a divine decree, a direct challenge to the false gods worshipped by the people. This drought wasn't just a weather pattern, it was a direct consequence of the people's rejection of God. The land's barrenness mirrored the spiritual desolation of Israel, a nation that had turned its back on its creator. Elijah became a living symbol of God's displeasure, a thorn in the side of a corrupt monarchy. His very presence was a reminder of the divine authority that superseded any earthly power. He challenged the comfortable status quo and dared to speak truth to power. This took immense courage. In a time when dissent could mean death, Elijah's boldness was a testament to his unwavering faith and commitment to God's will. Elijah wasn't afraid to stand alone, even when it seemed the entire nation had turned its back on God. His solitary stance in the wilderness, praying and seeking God's guidance, exemplified his deep reliance on divine strength. His boldness reminds us that following God often means going against the flow, challenging the norms, and speaking up for what's right, even when it's unpopular. Elijah's life is a powerful reminder that true faith often requires us to stand firm in the face of overwhelming opposition. It's a call to be salt and light in a world that desperately needs God's truth. Elijah's mission was not just for his time but serves as an enduring example for all who seek to live faithfully and courageously in the service of the divine. Perhaps the most well-known event in Elijah's life is the dramatic showdown with the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel, as vividly recounted in 1 Kings chapter 18. This chapter of the Bible captures a moment of intense spiritual conflict and divine intervention. Jezebel, the queen who was fervently devoted to the worship of Baal, had ordered the execution of God's prophets, seeking to eradicate the worship of Yahweh from the land. Elijah, however, had evaded her wrath and now boldly challenged her false prophets to a contest of divine power. The prize? Proving once and for all whose God was the true God, the one who held real power over the heavens and the earth. Imagine the scene. 2 altars, one dedicated to Baal, the other to the God of Israel. The tension in the air was palpable. All day long the prophets of Baal danced and chanted, their voices rising in a cacophony of desperate pleas, begging their God to send fire from heaven to consume their sacrifice. But their frantic efforts were met with only silence. No fire, no response, just an empty sky. Then Elijah took the stage. With unwavering confidence, he stepped forward, ready to demonstrate the power of the true God. He meticulously rebuilt the altar of God, laid out the sacrifice, and in a powerful display of faith, asked God to send fire from heaven. His prayer was simple yet profound, a testament to his deep trust in God's power. The response was immediate and undeniable. A divine fire blazed down from the sky with a force that could not be mistaken. The fire consumed not just the sacrifice but the altar itself, leaving no doubt about the source of this miraculous event. The people, witnessing this undeniable act of God, fell on their faces, overwhelmed by the sheer power and presence of the divine. They proclaimed in unison, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God." This moment marked a profound turning point, a powerful reminder of the true God's supremacy. Despite this incredible victory, Elijah's story wasn't all mountaintop experiences. When Jezebel threatened his life, he fled into the wilderness, overwhelmed by fear and despair, as recorded in 1 Kings chapter 19. Even the bravest hearts can experience moments of doubt and discouragement. Hidden in a cave, Elijah poured out his heart to God, feeling alone and defeated. But God, in His infinite mercy, met Elijah in his despair. He didn't rebuke Elijah for his weakness but tenderly cared for him, providing food and rest. Then, in a gentle whisper, God revealed Himself to Elijah not in the wind, earthquake, or fire, but in a still small voice. He reminded Elijah that he wasn't alone. God was with him, and His plan was still unfolding. This powerful encounter reminds us that God's grace is sufficient even in our weakness. He understands our fears and doubts and meets us in our darkest moments with compassion and love. He gently guides us back to Himself, reminding us that His strength is made perfect in our weakness.